"Remove that dog immediately!" Judge Davis shouted, pointing at Buddy. Jake Miller quietly whispered, "He's not a pet, he's my lifeline." But when Gunnery Sergeant Johnson led 50 Marines into that courtroom, the judge learned that some bonds are forged in war and protected by brotherhood, because real warriors never leave their brothers behind. Jake Miller stood at the courthouse entrance, his heart pounding in his chest. Beside him, his faithful companion Buddy, a gray German shepherd, waited calmly but alertly. It was supposed to be a simple traffic violation case, but nothing was simple for Jake anymore. Everything had been different since he returned from Iraq. Sudden noises, crowded places, unexpected movements, all of them triggered Jake's PTSD. Buddy was his lifesaver, a trained service dog who could sense when Jake was about to have a panic attack and calm him down. When they entered the courtroom, Judge Margaret Davis looked up. She was 52 years old, stern-faced, and blindly devoted to rules. As soon as she saw Jake and Buddy, she frowned. "Stop!" she yelled. "No animals allowed in this courtroom." Jake stood up, his hands beginning to tremble slightly. "Your Honor, this is my PTSD service dog. Legally, I don't care." Judge Davis struck her gavel hard on the desk. "Rules are rules. Remove that dog immediately." The sudden sound of the gavel exploded in Jake's head. Suddenly he found himself in Baghdad. Bomb sounds, screams, his friend's blood. His hands began to shake uncontrollably. Buddy immediately came to Jake's side, leaning against his leg, trying to bring him back to reality. Defense attorney Emily Carter stood up. "Your Honor, my client is a war veteran, and this dog is medically necessary." "Enough!" Judge Davis shouted angrily. "I'm telling you one more time, remove that dog, or I'll have you arrested for contempt of court." Jake's eyes filled with tears. He looked at Buddy, then at the judge. "Please, he's not just a pet. He's my lifeline." "That's not my concern. Either you remove the dog or you go to jail." The courtroom fell silent. Jake was alone, helpless. He couldn't abandon Buddy, but he couldn't disrespect the court either. Just then, the back door of the courtroom slowly opened. Gunnery Sergeant Robert Johnson entered. His blue dress uniform was spotless, his chest covered with medals. Another Marine followed behind him, then another. Silently, without making a sound, they took seats in the rows. 5 Marines, 10 Marines, 20 Marines. Judge Davis looked up, trying to understand what was happening. The Marines kept coming, old ones, young ones, all in the same respectful silence. They continued coming until the courtroom was full. 50 Marines, all in their dress uniforms, all there for Jake Miller. Gunnery Sergeant Johnson stood up and looked at the judge. "Your Honor, Staff Sergeant Jake Miller is our brother." Judge Davis cleared her throat, bewildered. What are you doing in this courtroom?" "Jake Miller served 3 tours in Iraq. He was wounded in a bombing in Fallujah. 8 soldiers died that day. Jake was the only survivor. That dog controls his PTSD symptoms, prevents panic attacks." Johnson continued. "Buddy is like the friends Jake lost in Iraq. He saves his life every day, and we never allow one of our brothers to stand alone." The courtroom was completely silent. The silence of 50 Marines was so heavy that the judge could barely breathe. "Jake has a Purple Heart," Johnson said. "He was wounded serving his country, and now this court is trying to take away his lifeline." Judge Davis slowly stood up. Her face had turned pale, her hands were trembling. I didn't know." "Now you do," Johnson said calmly. The judge turned to Jake. "Staff Sergeant Miller, I apologize. Your dog can certainly stay. This court honors your service." Tears streamed down Jake's face. Buddy wagged his tail, sensing his master's relief. The 50 Marines stood up and saluted Jake. This was what brotherhood meant. No one was left alone. The courtroom that day didn't just witness a simple traffic case, it witnessed honor, respect, and unforgettable brotherhood. True brotherhood shows itself not just on the battlefield, but in every moment of life. Thousands of veterans like Jake Miller silently struggle with challenges every day. And maybe there are silent heroes in your community waiting for your support. Did this story touch you? Tell us in the comments what city you're watching from. If you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. At Tales of Valor, we share unforgettable stories of veterans every day. See you in the next story.